I did not know that I was staying with a ghost until after this much and much thing happened, and then my boyfriend from Malawi, whom I had stayed with for many years in Devon, suddenly told me that he wanted to return back to his country. That was when the drama started, and all along people thought that maybe I have some form of a mental disease. My Chinese boss used to joke with me saying that I am a mad woman. I did not properly understand. Turned out that I have been dating a Malawian ghost until June 13. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story, it was translated by one of our admin, and it reads like this. Hello, brother. Please hide my identity and do not use my real name, my pictures, or the exact name of the textile factory where I used to work. You can call me Papi for the purpose of this story. Brother Nashi, I am a South African woman who comes from Limpopo. I am Tsonga and I grew up near Giyani, and I am now 38 years old. I have not been home for a very long time. I'm pretty sure that when I return back home, people, they are going to be surprised, because most of the people by now, I'm sure that they suspect that Babi is dead, and they think that I'm still in Limpopo if they say that I'm still alive. I am writing this confession to you because I am really scared. I do not know whether I am still in danger or whether what happened to me ended on 30 June, whether I am still being followed by the spirit of this Malawian man or not. I am begging you, seeing me approaching you, it is because I am begging you and your followers to help me find someone who understands Malawian spiritual matters. Maybe a genuine, not a fake sangoma like the ones that I have since spoken with here on Facebook. They are just scammers. I want a genuine Malawian traditional healer that can help me, because of the man that I stayed with for many years was also from Malawi. Maybe they might understand, and maybe when we consult, they can even be able to bring his spirit so that he can tell me why he did and why he chose to do whatever that he did to me. The problem is that I recently discovered that the man was not even alive. How do you even explain something like that to people who had never had a spiritual encounter ever before in their entire life? Brother Nashi, I stayed with a ghost from 2016 until this year in June. For all those years, I believed that I had a boyfriend. I cooked for him. I spoke to him. I slept in the same room with him. I did not even know that I have been talking to myself all along, complaining to him when we would have returned back from work when I was tired. I feel so embarrassed. Does it mean that when I was on the taxi, returning back from work, thinking that I am talking to my boyfriend, I was actually talking to myself, even telling him my secrets? I had even planned to travel with him so that I can meet my in-laws in Malawi, but we were going to do this next year or the year after that. According to everyone, they say that I have been living alone all this while. I still do not understand how this is even possible. Let me start from the beginning. Before I moved to Devon, I was married to a man in Giyani. So this man, I will call him Mandla, although that was not his real name. Mandla was not a perfect husband, but I must admit that I also treated him badly. At that time, I was young and I was easily influenced by friends. The problem was that the house opposite our house, it was a tavern. Growing up, this made me to know that men can give you money so easily, and by the time that I was on my period, I started to even sleep with men that would give me money. And this made me to become very stubborn, started to go to the taverns, was even kicked out by my parents multiple times, and then they would accept me back home when they would hear that I'm still struggling in the village. My husband, later on, he came to our village, and then we started to stay together. I got married the traditional way, and he was a hardworking person. He used to go and sell in the nearby farms. He owned a small business of buying and selling. Also, he had a small car, and we trusted each other. Unfortunately, I started to date another man behind his back. This boyfriend of mine, he was younger than Mandla, and he made me to feel really special, more than the way that my husband would make me feel. He used to tell me that he wanted to give me a better life, just that he did not have a good start in life. He knew some people that worked at the traffic department, and I told him that we can get a start by selling my husband's car. And we did that. Whenever he would be romantic and tell me that I want to give you a soft life, I believed him. He did not have a proper job, but he had big plans. Every week, he would come up with a new business idea. One day, he said that he wanted to buy clothes in Joburg, sell them around the farms, to even buy a taxi. He promised me that if I gave him money, he would turn that money into millions. And I became foolish simply because of love. One day, when my husband was away for a long time, my boyfriend convinced me to sell Mandla's car, and then we did change of ownership, and then we sold it. He said that we will use the money to start a business and to live Guyana together. And at first I was scared because the car did not belong to me, it belonged to my husband. And he said, "You are his wife. When he was working, were you not washing his clothes? You deserve, even if people divorce, they say 50-50. So you're just taking 50%. We will give him the other 50%. Those empty words entered into my head. I found a buyer, and we sold the car quickly, and we offered it for less than its real value. Brother Nashi, I knew what I was doing was totally wrong, but I continued. When the money came, my boyfriend and I, we did not even start a business. Instead, what we did was that we went for a safari, we booked rooms, we bought nice clothes, and we stayed at that restaurant by the safari, and we were drinking alcohol, watching the sun go down. It was like a honeymoon. And we used all of that money. In 2 weeks, the money was finished. When the money was gone, the man who said that he loved me, he just ran away. He even left me at that place where we had spent 2 weeks. His phone, he was no longer answering my calls. When I found out that he had ran away to Joburg with another woman, a girl of his own age, I knew that I was in deep trouble. And later on, he answered and he said that I was too old for him and he wanted to move on with his life. I reminded him that selling my husband's car had been his idea, but he told me that he had never forced me to make that kind of a decision. That was when I had realized that I had destroyed my marriage for a man who did not care about me. I could not wait for my husband to come back home and to discover that the phone and the car was gone. I knew that he was going to get me arrested. So I ended up selling the phone that I still had. It belonged to my husband. He used it for business. He had left it behind because he wanted me to communicate with the customers. What I did, Brother Nashi, was truly evil. As I was talking with the customers, what my husband used to do is that he would buy clothes in Joburg, sell them to the Mozambicans, the foreigners that were working on the farms, but he sold the clothes on credit. Then he would go and collect. So I spoke with those clients that I had seen in a book were still owing my husband money, and I told them that I had been sent to come and collect the money. I got on the taxi, moved from one farm to another. Whatever the people could give to me, I was accepting. When I got the money, I just packed a small bag and I ran away from Giyani. I did not even say goodbye to my mom. And I switched off my phone and I traveled to Joburg because there was one of my former schoolmates who was staying in Joburg. When I arrived in Joburg, she told me that I had nearly missed her because in about 3 days' time, she was going to leave Joburg and she wanted to travel to Durban because she had found a job there in Durban. And she said, if you have money for your own room, we can travel together. So after I had moved to Durban with my friend, I did not tell her the truth. We were staying in another location. Later on, she returned back to Joburg. I followed her, but the problem was that she was in an abusive marriage and it was very hard to stay with her. So I looked for another room. I tried to stay in Gauteng, but I could not get a job. I had already made friends in Durban, so the only place that I knew I could find a job quickly was in Durban. I returned back. When I returned back, that was when I managed to find a job through a friend, but she was a Malawian woman. She was working at a textile factory, and this factory, we were making different types of clothing. We were cutting fabric, and those that were experienced, they were working on the sewing machines. So whenever I was there was this other man whom I'll call Peter. He was from Malawi. He was working as a machinist, and he was the one that was working as the foreman as well. He was quiet and he was nice, but he always looked at me. I do not know why. He always looked at me. One day, he then bought for me lunch and he told me that he was in love with me. So, me and him, we started dating. I started dating him because his isiZulu made me laugh. It was always spoken incorrectly and I would correct him. It was just funny. So we were dating, and the more that we dated, the more that I fell in love with him. But I never told him about my past, that I was a married woman and I had run away from my ex-husband back in Giyani. So he then said, instead of you having your own room and I am having my own room, how about we just budget money and then I look for a room that is big enough, then we can start staying together. And I said, okay, it's fine. He then said that he knew this other woman who rented rooms in a location not too far from the factory. He was going to speak to him. He went there, and when he came back, he told me that he had managed to get a back room for us. We went and we saw the room. It was beautiful, and it even had some fitted wardrobes. And he was the one that paid the deposit, and we paid the rentals later on, and we moved in. He was the one that assisted me to arrange everything, and we started to stay together. Eventually, me and him, we were living like husband and wife. Brother Nashim, I know people will ask, how is it possible that you can stay with a man for many years without ever meeting his family? To each and every question, my second boyfriend, he always had an answer. He told me that his parents in Malawi had passed away. He said that his brothers and sisters were all over Malawi, Mozambique, and in South Africa. He said that he did not get along with them because they had fought over family property. Whenever I suggested that he should visit Malawi because it is not good for someone to stay in a foreign country, ever since I had known him year in, year out, he never mentioned to return back to his country. He said that we needed to save more money because he did not have the documents. He would say since he did not have documents, for him to travel out of SA, it was not a problem. But for him to return back to South Africa, it would cause a lot of problems, and he needed a lot of money just to get back to Durban. So I believed him. I was also hiding from my own family, so I did not feel I had the right to pressurize him like what I was doing. Peter knew later on that I had been married before, but I never told him the full truth about the car and everything that had happened whilst I was still back in Guyana. I only said that I had made a mistake and I had run away from my husband. He told me not to worry. He said that the past was the past. Those were the words that made me to love him even more. For years, he was my best friend. We were not rich, but we were enjoying the little that he had. Every morning, what surprises me is that I would go to work with him, and we would separate when we would have reached the factory gate. So he would go to the sections where the machines were, and I would go to my department. There were days when I would only see him when it was time to return back home, because the factory, it was very big. So even to join him during lunch, it was not always, because those that were operating the machines, they had lunch at different times, because the machines were supposed to be running at all the times. But I would always prepare food for him in a separate lunchbox. Whenever we would talk, I always wondered why people would always look at us. Now I have come to understand that the reason why people would look at me, it is because I would be talking to myself. I don't even have a single picture of him, because he said that he did not like taking pictures, and he did not want me to post him on social media because he did not have a passport. He made me to be afraid of social media, saying that TikTok is for Satanists. Even the WhatsApp, he was telling me that it is for Satanists. I believed him because I was also afraid that my relatives, they were going to find me. So if I wanted to know something on Facebook, I would create a ghost account, post fake pictures that did not even belong to me. Then it came time when he told me that he wanted to go back to his home, and we started to talk about it. And whenever we would talk about it, it was because of the money. That is why we were unable to visit his relatives. But there were red flags. There was a time when I was walking, there was this other woman. She was on the washing line, and she said, "Pabi, are you okay?" And I said, "I am fine." She asked me why I was talking to myself. I laughed at him and I said that I am talking with my husband. I thought that she was insulting me. How could she say that I was talking to myself, yet my husband was working right next to me? And there was another time, one of the landlady's daughter even found me sitting outside, and Peter was sitting next to me, or at least I could see him sitting next to me. We were discussing money. The landlady's daughter greeted me and walked past. I complained that she had ignored Peter. Peter told me that some South Africans do not respect foreign nationals. I became angry on his behalf. The next day, I confronted my landlady's daughter. I asked her why she had only greeted me and why she did not greet my husband, Peter. She said, "Who else was there?" I said, "Peter, my boyfriend." She looked around and she laughed. "Pavi, you were alone." What are you talking about? I thought that she was even insulting me. When I told Peter, he said that this girl was jealous. He said maybe she had seen him but did not want to admit it. Brother Nashi, this happened so many times, so many red flags, as I have told you that my Chinese boss, there was even a time at work we had all knocked off, and you know that at work you end up creating friends. So this lady, she saw me. I was standing by the gate and everyone was already getting into taxis, into the cars that would come for staff transport. She was a friend of mine at work. She asked me why I was always waiting near the gate, or why I was always the last person to catch the last taxi. I told her that I was waiting for my boyfriend Peter, one of the Malawian guys who operated the machines. She said that she did not know anyone that was called Peter. I thought that she was just lying. And then that was when I saw Peter. He was by the security moving out of the gate, and I pointed towards the security and I said, that one, can you see him over there wearing the blue overall? And that woman looked into the direction where I was pointing and she said, there is nobody there. I don't see anyone with a blue worksuit. I just became angry, and Peter arrived at where we were standing, and me and Peter, we walked and we got into the taxi. Peter told me that since there were a lot of people at that factory, because we were around 200 something, he said maybe some of these people, they did not even know him. So I did not talk much about people, and I did not like to go out anymore because people were always weird around me. I would try to introduce my boyfriend to them and they will act as if they do not see him. And Peter encouraged me that even if we wanted to drink alcohol, we would walk, and he was always saying to me, when I am walking to the tavern, please let us not talk, just remain quiet. Otherwise people will say that you are going crazy. So we would go, we would buy our alcohol and drink it in the room. We would go to town, buy and come back without even saying anything. So when I finally told him about what was happening in SA, this March and March we were discussing one night, and then he said that he was afraid for his life because before there were people that were burned in Joburg and he did not want his life to end. He was like, please let us move out of Durban, let us go maybe to Giyani in the village. I was afraid because he was going to find out that this is what I did. So he said that he wanted to leave SA. And I said, I can live with you. I want to see what Malawi is like. So one day, after we had even prepared, we had even money that we were going to use for the bus. And I was like, if I see that things are not okay in Malawi, then I can come back to my country. He then said that he wanted to show me something. This was on June 29. He said that I want to show you something. I said, okay. And then we went to the intersection where you enter the location. And at that intersection, that is when he said, this is where it happened. When he said that this is where it happened, he just disappeared in front of me. I could not even believe that a man that I had walked with from the location, he had just disappeared like that. So I was really afraid because he took me to that main road. It was at 8 in the evening. People were still walking because the location was very busy, but I was afraid, and then I started running back to the room where I was staying. So I ran back maybe for about 6 minutes. When I arrived back to the room, I expected to see him, and I was even thinking, because we only had one key, we were always together, but to my surprise, I found out that I had the keys, I had them in my hands, When I opened, I expected to see Peter's clothes. He had this other big tools box that he had, which used to irritate me. I looked for it and it was nowhere to be found. I started to cry because in my mind, I was like, this man, this idiot has ran away with another woman. And then I went to the landlady and I was crying. She asked me why I was crying, and I told her that my boyfriend had ran away from me, the one that I had been staying with ever since we started to stay at her house. She said, which boyfriend are you talking about? And I said, I have been dating this Malawian man that I have been staying with since 2016. And she was like, no, we have never seen you with any boyfriend. The only thing that I have noticed about you is that you're always talking to yourself. Even in your room, you're always talking to yourself. We have never seen you with a Malawian man before. She called her daughter, the one that used to ignore my boyfriend. And then she said that I had told her that there was a man that had ran away, and I was crying at that time because I did not understand why these people did not know about my boyfriend that I have been staying with since 2016. So the daughter also confirmed, and she said, Pabi, you know, people even in the location, they say that you are crazy. You talk to yourself. You are always talking to yourself. You don't even have a single boyfriend that you have brought into your room. Have you been staying with someone without telling my mom? So I just said, these people are mad. I then returned back into the room and I was planning and waiting for Peter to come back. Then I fell fast asleep. The way that I just fell asleep with the way that I was stressed, it did not make sense. I suddenly fell fast asleep, and then in my dream, that was when I saw Peter. He had gotten off from the taxi. As he was walking, when he was about to pass the intersection, a group of Nyaupe boys followed him. They wanted money and his phone. They caught him and then they stabbed him, and I saw him lying in a pool of blood. And then I saw Peter. He said that this was what had happened to him. He had been murdered and he had died. His relatives did not even know that he had been dead. So after that, he said goodbye to me, and I saw a car that passed between us. The headlights of the car blinded me. When the car was gone, Peter had disappeared. I did not see him, and when I woke up, Brother Nashi, I was screaming. I was screaming so loud. Even the landlady's daughter came knocking on the door. They asked me what was happening. They even thought that maybe I was high on drugs or something. You know, when you are experiencing something like that, there is no one that will believe that whatever that you are trying to say is the truth. Everyone will just think that it's either you are mad or you are taking nyaupe. I then left. I did not stay at that house anymore, and I changed locations because I was feeling embarrassed that so people, they think that I am a drug addict. People, they think that I am a mad woman. Brother Nashi, ever since that time, I'm still waiting for him to return back to me, and he has never ever called me. At work, I asked everyone, even some Malawians that stayed behind, I asked them, do you know Peter? None of them ever say that they know a man that is called Peter who came from Malawi. I don't know why he chose me, and I do not know why he chose to curse me like this. So I have wrote this story to you because I am asking if there is anyone who knows a real, not a scammer, of a Sangoma that is around Durban that can assist me, that is from Malawi, who can do a cleansing. Please help me. I just want to speak to him. I'll be following through in the comment section. Your dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to us by our admin who helped us with this translation. What do you think happened? Was she living with a demon? Tell us what you think in the comment section. Do you know anyone that can assist our dear sister? If so, you can tell us in the comment section or come to my inbox on Facebook.